so much to discuss, whether it's the consumer, whether it's the backlogs, whether it's the supply chain issues. Let's talk about the consumer first, because are you confident? Are people wanting to spend on key purchases, such as your high-end furniture?
Well, I must tell you first, in the last few weeks, every time I've come on one of these shows in different channels, President Biden comes before me. And which is good, because he helps shape the debate to a great degree. Yes, the answer is consumers are still interested. Of course, one has to also compare to, say, last year. Last year, this time, people were getting back. Our sales had gone down from, say, March to June. July, they started going up. And since that time, we have seen great increases. And of course, our increases today are not at the level that we had, say, 5 or 6 months back, but our sales are increasing. Now, we're also hearing about the issues about service. Now, we are, somewhat very fortunate that we are a vertically integrated company. We go from a concept of an idea to design. We manufacture 75% of our products in North America. Now, that's very important, and I think if you want, I'll talk a little bit more about it, because that has differentiated us. We have up close to 200 retail design centers in North America, 100 outside, 1,500 interior designers. If we didn't have all of those things, we would not be having the kind of business we do. Yes, consumer is very interested. Obviously, it's also you have to compare. If you compare it to what was happening 4 or 5 or 6 months back, it is not at that level, but our business is still up.
So let's talk a little bit more about your manufacturing operations. Obviously, having your manufacturing operations located here in the U.S. and in North America provides an advantage that maybe some other manufacturers don't have at this point when they're trying to sort of get products from overseas and to their customers here in the U.S. There's still a labor cost issue here that a lot of companies are dealing with domestically. And I'm wondering, how much have you felt that? Have you had pressure to raise your wages or other benefits in order to keep your current workers and attract new ones?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I was a couple of weeks back in Vermont. Ethan Allen started in Vermont. We have fairly large manufacturing operations in what's called the Northeast Kingdom. Hard to get people today. The wages have gone up. So we have decided, and we are going to really make some major decisions of making a substantial increase in wages, because we must get talent. If we don't do that, we are not going to be able to utilize the manufacturing we have here. But there's another thing we did, which was about 14, 15 years back. Most manufacturing from the United States left and went offshore. We said, no, we're going to maintain manufacturing here in North America, in the United States. But United States alone, we could not do it. So 13, 14 years back, we went to Mexico, central Mexico, state of Guanajuato, and we started a plant which is now 600,000 square feet, 1,200 people, providing labor that we don't have in the United States, making, for instance, our sofas and chairs. We could not have people in the United States cutting the fabric. The folks in Mexico do. It's great for them. Similarly, in our wood manufacturing, we have manufacturing in the United States, but we also went to Honduras. I think looking at it as a North America, as a basis for manufacturing, I think is very important. And that is what is giving us a competitive advantage. In the United States, it would be hard.
Yeah, and you mentioned, of course, 75% of that is in the U.S., but for the 25% that is not, and you are having to manufacture some of these overseas, I'm curious about the impact of some of the seasonality of the business. Yesterday, it was interesting. We spoke with Mario Cordera, of course, the executive director of the Port of Long Beach. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Unfortunately, it's getting worse. So we have now 55. We went, like you mentioned, early this year in the 40 number. We were down to June, vessels at anchor. We were down to 9 in June of this year at vessels at anchor, and now we're up at 55. So again, the disruption in the supply chain continues.
He's talking, of course, about the record number of ships that are floating off the port there because they can't get them anchored back into the port. And I am curious, given the seasonality of your business, do you get this holiday rush where a lot of your shipments won't make it to the stores in time for the holiday season? Or are you able to avoid some of the fourth quarter seasonality that you sometimes see in other industries?
Well, there are a number of factors. First, I must say, when I say 75%, that is North America. That is the United States, Mexico, Honduras. That gives us a competitive advantage because we combine the workforce that we have in our North American continent. So that has a benefit. Now, this 25%, yes, is coming from offshore. And look at this. Not only is there a shortage of containers, the cost of a container from, let us say, Indonesia has gone from $2,300 to $23,000 a container. I mean, first, it's hard to get them. And second, when you get them, you have a major issue of cost. So the cost of the products, I think, have gone up and are going to continue to go up. And it is, and as far as, the holiday season, obviously for us, we are not in the business of gifts. It does impact our business across the board. And yes, some of our products are delayed. But again, fortunately, as 75% is made in North America, we're in a better shape. And we have a very, very good plant also in Indonesia, not our own, but a partner. And they've really done a great job in terms of manufacturing. But yes, the container shortage is a very serious issue all across the world.
When you, of course, own and operate 9 production facilities in the United States or indeed North America, you, of course, are then at the behest of weather issues that we're experiencing here. And I know that in Texas, I mean, that completely upended foam production, for example. And lumber was something we were talking about so much, so furiously in about the second quarter, and it's eased away now. But Farooq, what are some of the most extraordinary areas that you found of the supply chain issues to make some of your goods?
Yeah, well, you mentioned foam. And the foam issue, interestingly, a lot of foam which is used in our, let us say, sofas and chairs, in our upholstery, a lot of the plants are in the Texas area. And they were impacted by, not by this, they were impacted by the flooding that took place there. The good news is, in the last few weeks, they are back. For instance, our plants in North Carolina, 3 or 4 months back, were only working 3 days a week because of foam shortage and some other problems too. But today they are back to work. So good news is foam is, I mean, still not at a complete level we would like to, but it's increased so that we are able to work full time in our plants in North America.